This is episode 8 of Christopher Reads the Help Files. This is Getting Started, Workflows, and the Material and Quantity Analysis Workflow. Refer to this section for high-level descriptions of tasks you might perform when performing material and quantities analysis in Civil 3D. Well, at least they didn't add efficient because it's not an efficient process. A lot of manual clicking commands and selecting items from a list rather than automating it for us where we could quickly do it. So the first topic is to analyze material quantities. Import pay items as categorization files. A pay item file contains the pay item codes, descriptions, and units of measure for the master pay item list. Filter and categorize pay item lists. You can filter pay item lists for individual pay items, either by pay item ID or by the text in the description for the pay items. Tag objects with pay items. You can assign pay items to objects or groups of objects in your drawing. You can assign pay item lists to corridors and pipe networks. Use formulas with pay item lists. Apply formulas to pay item items and edit the formulas. Compute quantities using pay item list. Compute pay item quantities for drawings, view frames, and selection sets. Report pay item quantities. Save quantity reports or place quantity tables in your drawing. That's a lot of work there. Sure would be nice if you had like one button and report all of them instead of having to do a bunch of them. Workflow to analyze sectional volumes. Edit quantity takeoff settings. The settings include default quantity takeoff criteria used to create material lists and default styles for tables. Create quantity takeoff criteria. Create a list of materials that specifies the surfaces and shapes from which you want to generate volume information. You will map the list entries to actual surfaces and corridor shapes found in the drawing later. Create sample lines. Create sample lines for the alignment along which you are going to generate quantity takeoff information. Create a material list. Select the sample line group and a quantity takeoff criteria, and then map objects in the drawing to the materials listed in the criteria. Add gaps to the material definitions. Add gaps if needed to limit volume calculations to pockets of material. Add subcriteria. Add subcriteria if needed to address more complex material conditions. Generate a quantity takeoff table or report. Display the sectional information in a standard Civil 3D table format, or view and export the information in XML. I'm not sure if it's XML or a style sheet, but I guess the data is exported as an XML. Workflow to create mass hall diagrams. Specify mass hall settings. Specify settings including the default styles for mass hall lines and views, and for mass hall commands. Confirm prerequisite objects. Confirm that you have a baseline alignment, a sample line group, and a material list from which you can create your mass hall diagram. Create the mass hall diagram. Specify source objects, materials, mass hall view, and mass hall line styles, and free hall distance using the Create Mass Hall Diagram wizard. Edit mass hall styles. Edit mass hall line and view styles to improve the visibility of the mass hall diagram. Specify mass hall line balancing options. Add borrow pits and or dump sites to mass hall. This kind of is just like roadway stuff. It doesn't really include site information because if you're doing a site, you want to figure out where your center of mass for the earthwork that you're moving, where it's going to go and where it's going to, and then you want to balance it based on the center of mass and how far you're going. So I'm going to say no. And so really Civil 3D, the way to do mass hall for site development projects. Or other And I'll go ahead and hit submit. And so that looks like the last topic. And so this has been material and quantity analysis workflow.